Welcome back to another episode of Wisdom and Hustle, the space where we give you wisdom for your pivot and fuel for your hustle. I'm your host, Felicia Brown, and today's conversation is one that every woman navigating a noun what moment needs to hear. My guest, Ronalda Sullivan, founder of Dream Differently, a movement born out of her own seasons of disruption. From a 22-year marriage ending to raising a son with non-speaking autism to watching careers collapse around her during her 34 years in the federal government. Ronalda helps women move from what she calls fog to freedom, guiding them through the fear, the uncertainty, and the quiet suffering that many of us carry alone. In this episode, we talk about clarity, courage, faith, and the power of giving yourself permission to reimagine your next. We talk about her 30-day journal, her personal journey, and the truth that your noun what is actually your next. So settle in. This one is rich. It's real, and it's going to bless someone during this conversation. So let's just jump in. Hey, Ronalda, thank you for joining Wisdom and Hustle. How you doing?
Hey, Felicia, I'm amazing. Thank you so much for having me. And it is such a pleasure to be here. So thank you again for inviting me to have a conversation with your audience and your women that are out there learning about wisdom and learning about hustle.
Amen. Amen. Because Ronaldo, we all need some wisdom for this hustle. And I mean, like whether you're a 9 to 5 hustle, whether it's your entrepreneurship hustle, whether it's your hustle of just navigating the changes of life, it's all our hustle. And so we need those gems to kind of help us stay grounded and really kind of continue to um, know what's important as we navigate this life that we get only one chance at. So thank you for joining us because I know you're going to drop a lot of gems
Absolutely.
today. And so I really just kind of want to start this conversation off with this whole notion of fog to freedom. And so tell us, like, what is that? Like, what does that mean for people?
So from fog to freedom, I like to talk to women because most of the time the women that I talk to are in that fog of fear. And
Mm,
when you're in a fog of fear, you can't plan, you can't think. You're stuck. And I think what happens with us with that in that fog is the fear suffocates us.
mm,
We're not able to move forward. And if you're in a fog, if everybody knows when you're in a fog, you can't see, you can only see so far in a fog. Sometimes you can't even see. And sometimes whenever you are stuck, that's the problem. We can't really see clearly. We can't think clearly. And fear can have us to a point where um, so much uncertainty causes us to stay stuck.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think that a lot of women, when they're in that fog, their fear of not being able to move forward, not being able to figure it out, not knowing what the next should look like, and trying to have all of the answers that most of us know we just don't have.
yeah, yeah. I think Ronaldo, as Black women, we um we take on this cloak that we should know it all because we wear so many hats. We're mothers, we're uh we're um we're aunts, we're cousins, we're leaders in the workplace, we're leaders in our community, we're leaders in our own lives.
Absolutely.
And so it's just a heaviness and a huge responsibility that women carry that and also a lot of times we are afraid to say that we're overwhelmed.
Oh, that part right there. That part right there. We are afraid. And one of my signature talks is, I spoke, I healed. And that's because we don't talk about it. we're so busy being strong. I think a lot of
Mhm.
us, especially right now, we're afraid because we don't have all the answers and think we should. We want to have the answers for family. We want to have the answers for coworkers. We want to have the answers for parents because we're caregivers. Like we want to have
Yes.
all of the answers.
Yeah.
And the fog of uncertainty, we don't give ourselves grace to just not know because we don't have to have it all figured out.
Yeah, yeah. So we're going to get deeper into that, Ronalda, and all of the tips and tricks that you give women who you work with. But so you started Dream Differently during COVID.
I
And so we
did.
know what COVID brought on, right? Like
Yes.
lots of like the world was unraveling, lots of uncertainty. How long are we going to be in this space? And so you, like a lot of other women, started businesses. But we started them out of like either necessity or a lot of disruption. And so, what was going on when you started Dream Differently?
As you said, in 2020, we had a lot of time. We were forced to be in our homes. Things were shut down. We weren't even working outside the home. And a lot of that time for me was a period of reflection.
Mm,
And during COVID, when I was having all of this private time, I started to talk more about my journey and life, how I got where I was. We started, if everybody's like me, you started rethinking a lot of things in
mhm,
2020.
mhm,
What do I need to do different? What does my life need to look like post pandemic? Because right now we're stuck. And so for me, I had to sit and I reflected on my life, where I was, the things that I'd accomplished, the things that I still wanted to. And then I reflected very, very deeply on the turning points in my life. Because as I just said, in 2020 it was a turning point for a lot of people.
mhm,
And I
mhm,
started talking to other women and, having conversations. There were a lot of online groups and all of the things whenever we were stuck inside. And I had a conversation with someone about um, the moment I learned about my son's diagnosis with
mm,
non-speaking autism.
mm,
My son was diagnosed with non-speaking autism at 22 months. And Felicia, I described that moment as it changed the trajectory of my whole life.
I would imagine.
Um, because as mothers, we have these dreams
Mhm.
and we paint this picture of how life is going to be. And
Before
I
they
had
get
learned
here,
before they get
before they get
absolutely. I learned I was having a son. I already had a daughter, so I knew when I had this boy, I was gonna be that loud cheerleader. He was gonna be embarrassed. He was gonna bring girlfriends home. I already knew what life was gonna be like. I planned prom, like all the things in my head. I'm gonna be the loudest, most embarrassing mama at the baseball games and the football games. Like I just knew. So of course, when my son he's born and I'm excited about all of these things that I've dreamed about, and I started, paying attention to him and took him to a doctor's appointment one day for something totally different, and the doctor looked at my son sitting in the corner, and my son was rocking back and forth, and the doctor looked at me and he looked at my son and he said, How long has he been rocking back and forth like that?" And I said, I don't know, maybe a few months. And he said, "Does he respond to his name?" And I started thinking, and does he make eye contact when you talk to him? All of these questions that I didn't have answers to that caused me to, question every mothering decision,
right,
because you don't know, like, what did I miss?
right, right.
And so, of course, back then there were no iPads. He took his little clipboard out and wrote on the piece of paper and he handed it to me and he said, I need you to take this. I need you to have your son diagnosed. I mean, I need you to have your son evaluated. And I took my son to Bethesda Naval Hospital and here in Bethesda, Maryland. And Felicia, we spent the entire day. He was tested with speech pathologists and occupational therapists, and he was physical therapists and all of the tests that you can imagine in an 8-hour day. And at the end of the day, we're summoned to this room, and there's a conference room with all of these doctors sitting around in their white coats. And one doctor approached me and he said, "I think we know what's wrong with your son." And I said, "Okay, would tell me,
Mhm.
and he said, "We think he has autism." And I'm thinking autism, what's autism?
Right,
Um, I, I I don't even know if I've heard of autism. What is that?
right, right,
And immediately I don't even care. I don't care
right.
what autism is. I
Exactly.
I just I just need you to tell me how I can teach him to talk.
Right. You
I
like,
need
fix it. Just
I
fix it.
You tell me what we need to do. I don't care about what you said, whatever that is.
Right.
And the doctor said 4 words, Felicia, that changed everything. He said he may never talk. And in that moment, I'm in a fog.
Right,
Because what do you do with that?
right, right.
There's all of these dreams that you thought that you had. And then now you're telling me that he may never talk. Like, what is that going to mean for his life? What is that going to mean for his future, his safety? What's going to happen when he goes to school? What's going
Yeah.
to happen when he's not with me? All of the fear and uncertainty that
Yes.
comes along with those unanswered questions. And so, as I was explaining this life-changing trajectory during COVID, um, and all of us were talking about things that had changed in our lives. And someone asked me, what happened? And I said, you know what? I didn't stop dreaming. My dream just had to look different.
Mm,
So now it's what happens now that he may never talk? What will his life look like? What do I want for him? I want him to live the very best life that he possibly can. So what does that look like? How do I get him to a place where he's able to dream? Because I don't want to stop dreaming. And we know that mother set the tone for everything. And because I needed to make sure that I didn't stop dreaming. I needed him to see me dream so that he could dream too.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
And so changing the trajectory of my life with Dream Differently and the disruption that I had to navigate is the reason why you see the woman before you today. Because she had to have a different dream, but she couldn't
Mhm.
stop dreaming.
Right, right, right. And so was that like really kind of, and I mean, I know you shared that you had, went through a divorce and then you saw all this other disruption in the workplace. Was that the impetus where you said, I have to start something? And because you coined this term, I had to dream differently. That was like this aha moment for you that
Absolutely.
that's going to be kind of my mission, my
Absolutely.
business to help women
Absolutely.
dream differently.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is when I decided during this time of COVID, I thought to myself, okay, but how many other women have gotten stuck? How many other women have had to dream differently about whatever? And as you mentioned, as I reflected about the fairy tale marriage, of course, when you get married, you think that it is forever. You marry Prince Charming, y'all gonna live happily ever after. You're gonna do the white picket fence and all of the things that some little girls dream about. And then you think that's gonna be my story
Right, right,
until it isn't. And then 22 years later, you find yourself deciding, okay, so what does life need to look like now? Because you can't stop dreaming because that dream
right.
has to look different.
Yeah.
And so I think for a lot of women, what happens is when we don't see life the way that we thought life would be, the hope of life still being a beautiful thing starts to diminish and fear starts to take over. And that's where the fog is. We sit in that because fear has taken over. We rest in, I don't know what I need to do. I don't know how I need to get there. And then I think what needs to happen for all of us that doesn't happen is we don't sit in a moment of self reflection and say, you know what, just because the dream has to look different
Mhm.
doesn't mean it still can't be beautiful.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. So what was that moment that you said, I'm not the only one suffering. I'm not the only one going through this. And perhaps you had gotten to a place where you started to reimagine and you realized, you know what? I need to start something to help other women reimagine.
The moment that I decided that Dream Differently needed to be more than just beautiful words, it needed to be a movement, is when I started to have conversations with other women that um, were not sure about what they wanted their life to look like. And when we get to a certain stage in our life, we're trying to figure out what should life look like.
Mhm.
And what I tell women and what ended up happening with me is when I decided to move forward with Dream Differently and trademark the concept and to step out there, all the way out there to help women, I started having these transparent conversations with women about their Dream Differently moments. What caused you to have to dream differently? What what happened when you realized that your relationship was ending, or what happened when you decided that you needed to make a career change? And having those conversations with women and diving really, really deep, because I think sometimes most of us, we think because we're going through it, nobody else is. And we suffer in silence so much.
Like, this is my own unique journey. No one has ever paid this before.
Absolutely. And as an Air Force veteran and as someone who's worked for the federal government for 34 years, I've seen these women that have changed and have had to change their lives about, their families. With the military, we know how that affects our families. We know when we have to travel and we have to move. And then we know what happens with families when, we become caregivers. We know what happens when women have to make a decision about whether or not they're going to continue down the same career path.
Hmm.
Women are facing that right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of the things that we are now having to actually make a decision about what life needs to look like, that's causing us to have to reflect and have a different dream.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about, um, as you mentioned, and one thing we do know, Ronalda, is change is inevitable. Whether it's you're going to grow up, life is going to change because of age. You don't like doing the same things that you used to do, or your body can't handle what it used to handle, like menopause, like I mean, change is inevitable,
Yes,
right?
it
Like
is.
we're going to grow up, we're going to get older, we're going to get gray hair that we don't like. Um, and even we might even grow out of these careers that we thought that we would do forever and ever. Amen. So change is
Absolutely.
inevitable, and it's okay to change. And we have to give
Absolutely.
ourselves permission to change, but also embrace that change. And so, like, how, you think about downsizing, relationship changes. Like, so how do you coach women through this question of now what?
So normally what happens with the women that I coach and that I serve, they're often very, very successful on paper, but they're
On
most of the
paper. I
time
love that.
they're successful on paper, but they're struggling in private. And when you ask them the deep questions about, you know, what do you need to say here in this safe space that you wouldn't say out there in front of everybody else, because that's how we have to dive deep. Because when we have a perspective of what we're dealing with, what our situation is, I like to tell women, I want to give you a little pop. And that's perspective, it's an opportunity, and it's permission. It's
Mm.
POP.
Say that again. Say it again.
I like to give women a little pop.
Okay.
Perspective,
Perspective.
opportunity, and permission.
Mm.
The perspective of where are you right now? What broke you? What got you here? And let's talk about what opportunity might this be offering you for growth? Is it an opportunity to change? Is it an opportunity to do something different? So you think about the perspective of what broke you. You think about what this opportunity may be offering you. And then can you actually give yourself permission to change? Because you may not think that you can give yourself permission. Most of the time, women think about, well, this is who I've been. This is the woman that I've been all of this time. This is what I've always done. And so, do you give yourself permission to do something different and be someone different? Maybe reconnect with the woman you once were or create the woman that you need to be. I tell women all the time, disruption introduced me to me. That's the woman that you see in front of me, in front of you. You never would have met me if I hadn't met disruption.
Yeah. I
So
love
I
that.
give women a pop.
Yeah. I mean, because I think about, how God has a way of shifting you
Hmm.
in ways that you're like, okay, so I didn't you like, I didn't expect this guy.
Wait, God, I didn't know.
Like, could you have just given me a little bit of preparation or insight into how this might kind of end up?
Yes, exactly. And I say the same thing, but I when I talk to women about dream differently, and I talk to women about my conversations with God, and I tell them all the time, I said, God, I didn't you I didn't have any desires to be out and talking and speaking and talking to women. I didn't have that. I wanted to be over here minding my business. God, like
Right, right,
how am I in other people's business?
right.
I mean, I didn't want to. And the Lord said to me so plainly one day, He said, your son can't use his words to communicate, but you have no excuse. And I had to sit with that.
Mm.
I had to sit with that. And I thought, you know what, God, I have no other choice but to be obedient.
Because you are the vessel.
Hmm.
You are the vessel. You're the vessel. And so, you know, Ronalda, like being a Black woman is a tall order. It's a tall order because there are just so many expectations um put on us.
Yes, it is.
And we've listed all those things, and those entities expect us to show up not broken, not confused, not being sure,
Hmm.
but really having it all together,
Hmm.
having all the answers. And so, you know, when they come to you, they admit, I don't
Hmm.
really have it. Like I am
Absolutely.
carrying this facade that
Absolutely.
really is like a little bit of imposter syndrome, a little bit.
Absolutely.
And so you're teaching this that clarity comes first. I love the whole pop, then confidence and permission. And so like why do women struggle with that?
Think women, I think a lot of women are like I used to be. We are busy trying to live up to everybody else's expectation of us. And sometimes we are not willing to embrace that in order for us to become who we need to become,
Hmm.
um, in order for us to ultimately live in alignment and have peace about our lives, we have to make some decisions about whether or not it's important for us to have um, hope and determination. Because I think we're so busy comparing ourselves. Sometimes I know for me, we've compared ourselves to the generations before us. And I tell women all the time, you are not your mother's 50. You are not your mother's 60, not even your mother's 40. Because if we're so busy comparing ourselves to other people, generations before us, friends around us, not um, stepping out and having the confidence to get the clarity that so that we can move forward to a place of freedom, we're always going to stay stuck. And the
Mm,
first thing I tell women to do is think about where you are and then think about where you want to be. And then what is that going to require? Because you
mhm.
may lose some friends, some relationships may change, but ultimately it's really about you and your life because nobody else can live that but
Yeah.
you.
Yep. Yep.
And
And
it's a
and
choice.
and so what does that everyday courage look like?
Everyday courage looks like every day getting up and choosing you in spite of everything else that's going on around you. Because sometimes we get up already thinking about what we have to do for husbands, what we have to do for children, what we have to do for the job. Every day, it is a choice to choose you first.
Mm,
It is a choice to get up in the morning and say, you know what, I matter first. Because if I don't matter, I can't even do for you. I can't be successful at work if I'm not thinking about me first. I can't even be successful and give my 50%, 75%, or whatever is needed in this relationship because I'm so busy focused on you and not myself.
mhm.
If I don't
Yeah.
pour into me, I have nothing to give to you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
daily, it's a choice to choose you first and then everybody else.
And that's hard to do.
Oh, it absolutely is.
It is hard to do.
It is,
But
and
I
it is,
but
it
I
is,
think
and it
through the
takes intention.
yes, yes, and I think through the work that you're doing with women, it's really helping them to be intentional, be present with themselves, and make sure and make the right choice. And
Absolutely.
that choice is choosing themselves. And so a part of the work that you're doing, you have a journal.
Absolutely.
You have a 30-day journal,
I
and
do.
it's called Reimagine.
Hmm.
And so talk to us about that journal.
I have a 30-day journal. It's called a 30-day journal, devotional journal. It's Reimagine, Transform Your Tomorrow. And what's different about this journal? I want women to really understand that this journal really causes you to dive deep. It's a faith-based journal. You're going to ask yourself, and you may even have to ask God some tough questions. Because I think sometimes we feel like I know I was for a very long time. Who am I to question God? Who am I to question God about what he in his sovereignty decides that he's going to do?
Mhm.
And my journal asks those deep questions. It
Mm,
asks you to reflect on that. Do you want to ask God why? Ask him. It's okay. Do you want to dive deep about the situation that you're in? Let's think deeply and let's write about something that you don't want to share with anybody else, but this is here. This is your
yeah,
sacred, safe space. And I think sometimes women underestimate taking the time to just reflect, ask yourselves the difficult question, and actually write. Because sometimes we don't want to sit and reflect because we don't want to truthfully answer. We
yeah,
don't want to actually explore what the truth of all of that emotion and all of that fear and all of that uncertainty has really cost us.
yeah. And it could be painful.
Absolutely. It
It could,
is.
it could be very painful. And do you and on those pages, do you help people reimagine through your pop?
Absolutely. And I also tell them that there's an acronym in there for dream. And the acronym in there for dream is you got to be determined. Resiliency is there. You just have to be determined to search and find it. And then whenever you find the resiliency, it's going to help you educate yourself about yourself. And then when you educate yourself about yourself, it's so much easier to advocate. And when you have gotten to the point to where you are comfortable advocating for yourself, you're going to feel motivated to dream a different dream of whatever that dream might look like for you.
Right. Wow. And your dream is very different from somebody else's dream.
Absolutely.
And it's okay that your dream perhaps looks very unorthodox
Absolutely.
and very much like what to people. And so you've got to remove yourself from, I guess, from those things that fear of what will people think.
That is the number one thing. That is the number one thing that I believe holds us back because we are always thinking about what everybody else is going to think. And we're often looking at what everybody else is doing and thinking, and if I decided to do that, then what are they going to think? And
Yeah.
that's where I remind women, listen, give yourself permission to question that and then do it anyway.
And do it anyway.
And then do it anyway.
I love it. Like I have this sticky that I keep in my home office that says afraid, do it afraid. It's called I have a little saying that's when I kind of get stuck in my perfection and I get stuck or I get into this space of like, is that okay? What will people think? And I'm so afraid that this is not gonna turn out well. Like I don't have all the tools. And I'm telling you, I have a sticky says, do it afraid. And
Oh,
every now and again I have to just look at that because I get in my own way.
yes, we do. We do. And then at the end of the day, getting in our own way is what holds us back. But at the same time, I also tell women, but imagine how you feel when you do it anyway.
Yeah. It's scary. Now I'm
It
not gonna say
is.
I'm
It is. It is. But
I,
it's us doing it perfectly imperfect and being okay with that.
yes. Perfectly imperfect.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. I love that. And so, you've coined this term, fog to freedom, and your noun is your next. And so aside from your journal, like how do we begin to find like what that next is?
Think how we begin to find out what that next is you have to go long term and then work backwards. And by that I mean, what is it that you really want to see for yourself in a year? What is it that you want to see for yourself in 5 years? And then let's work backwards because it's the small steps that get us to the end goal. It's not the big. And I think sometimes we get overwhelmed by the big goal and think that if we haven't reached the big goal in a certain amount of time, or if we haven't made progress in a certain amount of time, then it's not going to happen for us. And I tell women all the time, what you want to do is just think of one thing that's going to move you forward. And it doesn't even matter if it's a big thing or a small thing. If you have to get up and your first thing is, you know what, for this week, every morning, I'm going to be intentional about choosing me first. Because when you're intentional about choosing you first, keeping in mind that end goal for next year, this time I want to have this done, you're always going to be able to. I chose myself first, and I said that I was going to make sure that in a year I was doing this, but every day I'm still choosing me. I've set that goal and I'm working backwards to reach that goal. And what did I do today? Well, part of that is making sure that I make myself the most important, and then I can move forward. So women need to really remind themselves and give themselves permission because that's what we don't do. We don't give ourselves permission to choose us. It's so easy for us to give to everybody else, but we don't give ourselves permission to choose us. And if I
Wonderful.
don't say, if you don't remember anything else today, is give yourself the grace and the permission to choose you so that everything else can align. Because when you are full and you feel you, you can be successful with feeling everybody else.
I love
But
it.
everybody has heard that you cannot pour from an empty cup.
Yeah. Oh, how many times? But we continue to try.
Absolutely. We
I
do.
mean, like we've heard that saying like time and time again, but we will continue to do it
Absolutely, we
on a
will.
regular basis. And so, Ronaldo, we started this conversation with, how you launched Dream Differently and
Mhm.
what was your kind of the root cause of that. And so now, how are you dreaming differently as you think about your now what?
So, full circle moment. I said at the very beginning that the disruption that I experienced, that that caused me to have a different dream. And today, I will first say that my son is doing amazing. He is living on his own outside of the home.
Okay.
And so when you ask me what is it that I am doing, I am giving myself permission to live my best life. I'm giving myself permission to travel. I'm giving myself permission to continue to dream differently
Hmm.
because I tell people all the time, I'm walking my brand out every day.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not just telling you that you need to dream differently. I'm also walking it out. I'm learning what that means to dream differently. I wanted my daughters to be able to see that their brother was going to be okay so that it gives them permission to go and live their life and be okay too.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
I think sometimes when, our children watch and they see things growing up and they wonder how life is going to end up being for them. And the most important thing that I wanted to make sure that they knew was is he's going to be okay and you are going to be okay too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he is okay. We're all okay. And I am living out Dream differently and I'm encouraging them to do the same. Every woman can embrace what it means to dream different.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. And as you continue to help other women dream differently. Like we're not gonna, we won't escape that because, while you're dreaming differently, you're also in the business of helping other women dream
Absolutely.
differently. So,
Absolutely.
so Ronaldo always close with two things.
Hmm.
And so what are your three words of wisdom for people who are exploring their pivot, a shift, navigating a new normal or an not so normal? They're now what advice do you give around those what are your three words of wisdom?
Three words of wisdom that I will offer today is pray and then pause because I think we pray and then we move. We should pray and pause because we need to listen. Because when you pause and you listen, then you can be prepared for your next. So pray, pause so that you can be prepared for whatever it is that God has in front of you.
I love that. Pray, pause, so you can be prepared for whatever that thing looks like.
Absolutely.
And so what is your hustle playbook? Like your practices, your faith, your routines. I mean, you shared some of that with us, but is there anything else that keeps you in the hustle or that you subscribe to?
Everything that I've talked about here today, I journal. Because I think that it is so important for us to journal in the moment and then reflect. Because there are some things that I've journaled about a year ago, even a month ago, that I go back and reflect and say, I was so fearful of doing that. And I did that.
Yeah.
And I think it is so important for us to reflect. So one of my practices, journaling. I read, I'm in my word every day because that is where the wisdom comes from. I'm in my word and then I'm pausing. So
Uh-huh.
everything that I'm telling everybody else to do, I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm praying and then I'm sitting and I'm pausing because I think when we pause, that's when we can hear. We
Yeah.
don't have to figure out what our next step is. Pray, pause so you can be prepared. Read your word. I read my word. And that's my practice.
Gotcha. And so as we conclude and we close this like amazing conversation, and you've given us so many nuggets, is there anything that you forgot to share that you want to leave our listeners with as we close this conversation?
Well, what I will say to the ladies is I know that every woman has experienced disruption, whatever that might be for them. It could be the ending of a relationship. It could be a career change. It could be an unexpected diagnosis. Whatever that thing is, disruption comes to show us, I believe, what we're truly capable of. And what I will say to the woman that is listening right there, right here today, whatever woman is listening out there, your disruption is not the end. It's not the end of your story. And it didn't come at a time when, an imperfect time. Because I think people think that not now. How did this happen right now? Disruption comes when it's supposed to come.
Mm,
And on the other side of disruption, you meet yourself.
yeah.
So it's right on time every time.
You meet yourself. Well, look, I hope that everyone who's listening to this conversation takes a moment to pause, have some perspective, think about opportunity, and really, really give yourself permission to dream differently. And so, Ronalda, I really want to thank you for this inspiring conversation that I hope people are encouraged to really dream differently, particularly if you're thinking about your now and what. And I hope
Absolutely.
you were motivated to start and or stay in your hustle. Thank you for joining, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram and on YouTube at Wisdom in Hustle. And that's wisdom with an N, hustle. And in the words of Snoop Dogg, until the next episode, talk to you soon.